Hey, it is January 28th, 2019. I'd like to thank you for joining me. I wanted to do this real briefly. There's one or two things that I want to share with y'all real quick before I take a nap. I gotta take a nap and get ready for tonight. But I wanted to share this with y'all real quick, real brief. If you haven't seen it, I thought it was interesting. Alright, so if you're reading it right now, the headline, I just want to mention that, when it comes to very retarded things, or things that don't make a lick of sense when it refers to Parkland and people's reactions to Parkland, when it comes to those things that are retarded, we can make a whole documentary on just that, I promise. Alright, we can make a series of them. A lot of people have done just off the wall amazing things, dude. I don't even have time to get into all of it, but a lot. Alright, so this headline is going to just add on, it's going to be a cherry on top. It says, an artist will build a temple, then burn it, all to help heal the pain of Parkland. And we're going to go through this real quick, because like I said, I want to take a nap, right? But I wanted to point out the retardation. This is by Savannah Bryan, who's contact reporter for the utmost retarded, and that would be the Sun Sentinel. It will be known as the Temple of Time, a place where all those touched by the tragic Parkland shooting can bring their pain, their tears, their rage, and their sorrow. All right, they better not bring any questions, but they can bring all their emotions. But this Temple of Time, a towering center of healing, made of wood and standing 35 feet tall, will not last. Oh, really? Ironically, it's called the Temple of Time, but it's not going to last very long. The temple will open to the public on February 14th, exactly 1 year after the massacre that left 17 dead and another 17 injured over there at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High. For 3 months, the temple, a secular work of art. And before we go on any further, that means a godless work of art will be open daily from 7 a.m. to dusk at 955 Juan West Sample Road, where the old Coral Springs City Hall once stood. Oh, okay. Then in mid-May, it will be destroyed. In mid-May? What in the world? In mid-May, it will be destroyed in a ceremonial fire. I don't know. I'm not even sure why they're picking mid-May, but they're picking it mid-May. It's going to be destroyed. The burning ceremony is meant to be a cathartic experience, helping people in pain release their grief and move beyond their suffering, while never forgetting those lost that day or ever investigating who murdered them. California artist David Best will build the temple in 2 weeks' time with his own crew of 10 and help from the community. The collaboration of building this temple will help to reduce feelings of isolation that may have cropped up since the shooting, says Julie Andrews, executive director of Coral Springs Museum of Art. We are hopeful it will give them the means to express their grief, or their sadness, or their anger. And by the way, anger is not natural. Nobody should be encouraging anger, but these people are, and they're burning some stuff down. They're building it just to burn it. This is how we are looking at the power of art to heal. So before we go any further, and we're not going to go much further, you already see that this is quite obviously a ritualistic burning sacrifice deal. Alright, whether you're a fan of that or not, that's quite obviously what it is, in which they're conjuring up all their anger and their hatred and howling at the moon. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they plan to do, but it's going to be very awkward. It's going to be very ritualistic. It's going to be a sacrifice. It's going to be all those things. But I did want to share this with you. This is a cherry on top. Best, who's building the temple, He's known for creating beautiful temples, God bless him, sent up in flames as part of Nevada's annual Burning Man Festival. So, and a lot of y'all probably don't even already know this, but okay, it's a ritualistic sacrifice, what they're doing in public to whatever god that they serve. And it just happens to be by the guy who works at Burning Man, where if you're not familiar, they got all sort of orgies and sort of ritualistic sacrifices to the gods that they worship and all that sort of stuff. Anyways, that's, you might as well tie that into Parkland, right? Anyways, it's January the 28th, 2019, and I appreciate all y'all. Hey y'all, it is January the 28th, 2019, and y'all, this is the other thing that I wanted to share with y'all real quick before I take a nap and stuff. And I think it's pretty dang interesting. Like I said, theories are all on the table. The official narrative is definitely off the table and stuff like this. So I'm not sure all what's going on, but y'all already know which way I'm leaning in this whole thing. And that's not to say I know everything about everything, but it is to say that some people in this Parkland situation, according to my theory and a lot of people's theories, some people are more guilty than other people, and there's actually different variations of guilty all throughout this whole situation. Right? Some people are way more guilty than others. Right? That's gonna take some determination and stuff. I feel like those who are more guilty deserve more justice, an appropriate amount of justice. Anyways, that being said, I think this is a very good insight, this article right here. And y'all probably remember exactly who this article is talking about, but here, the headline reads, Detective, Parkland shooting deputy statement of faulty. And of course got that notorious picture of a Mr. Scott Peterson with one T over there, and he was the SRO over there at MSD, and you already know that, so I'm not even going to bother. But the Detroit News is what's coming from, and I don't know who's the writer, because who cares, but it's off the Associated Press, where they're kind of like, spreading it around. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a Florida detective told investigators the former deputy entrusted to protect a high school where 17 people died in a mass shooting allegedly last year gave an initial statement filled with inaccuracies about his actions. All right, so that piqued my interest, and I already knew that, obviously, that's a whole number of people he could be talking about. Obviously, it's a big picture of Scott Peterson, so that's who they're talking about. So I went ahead and I read a little bit further, and it says this. Broward Sheriff's Office, Detective John Curcio, and that, stop. Red flags, alarms all over the place. Now, I didn't know this necessarily. I don't know exactly how policy and protocol works in police departments. I don't know who's the lead investigator. I don't know how to find out. I'm finding all this out and stuff, man. All the formalities. But just so that you know, just so that everybody knows, John Curcio has been named the lead investigator. All right, this whole thing, John Curcio is a person to pay attention to. All right, so Broward Sheriff's Office Detective John Curcio told investigators that ex-deputy Scott Peterson's story about what happened at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland contains many inconsistencies when compared with video evidence. Now, I would have to go ahead and agree with him on that one. All right. It is very inconsistent. All right. And I want to talk about two things right now. First of all, John Curcio, on the face, just looking at him, studying his behavior, is absolutely untrustable, unsavory. He's a greasy slime ball. All right. Obviously. I mean, I'm not saying anything everybody doesn't already understand. So he's a greasy slime ball. He's very suspect. All right. He was suspect from the get-go, but you couldn't really pin him down. Now he's making more statements, right? And before we go any further, I've already acknowledged, a lot of people already know, Scott Peterson obviously was not carrying out his job very well. All right, and there was a certain point in the shooting when Scott Peterson should have very well known what was happening. He should have very well known the amount of gunfire that was going on. He should have alerted, say, a Greenleaf to go to the camera room and find out exactly where the shooter was. And meanwhile, that didn't happen. Allegedly, he told the principal Morpher to do that. And meanwhile, that took 20, 30 minutes to accomplish. And so, yeah, certainly there's a lot of stuff that Scott Peterson might have said that's just very inaccurate. I would totally agree with that. At the same time, John Curcio is completely unsavory. So just to read a little bit more, there is almost on every detail that he gave in a statement inaccuracies, Curcio said. Curcio, like I said, is the lead investigator in the criminal case against Nicholas Cruz, 20, who faces the death penalty if convicted in a shooting. The detective statement released Tuesday by prosecutors was given to Florida Department of Law Enforcement agents working with the state commission looking into the law enforcement response to the February 2018 mass shooting. Now, we're not going to go any further because forget going further. Who cares? But John Curcio, basically, I just wanted to point out, who looks like a slimy greaseball pervert. John Curcio is going out of his way, telling you that Scott Peterson is full of all sort of inaccuracies, which we could have told ourselves. We knew that as well. But this is 11 months out. Why is he telling us right now? And at the same time, you got to notice, he's not mentioning other people. All right, because 100% if Scott Peterson was messing up, slipping and tripping, and totally dropped the ball in the situation, if that is the case, then so did 5, 6, 7 other different deputies. All right, so for John Curcio to come out so late in the game and try and tell us something about this and that about Scott Peterson makes John Curcio put the spotlight directly upon himself. All right, John Curcio is too stupid to know it. But he's making himself looking very unsavory at this point. All right, so anyways, I'll holler at y'all, and I appreciate y'all. It's January the 28th, 2019.